Hi, and welcome to another episode of Boss Chronicles Unpacking Leadership Literature. So, today, this week, we are going to be discussing elevating humanity through business, conscious leaders. And this is written by John Mackey, Steve McIntosh, and Carter Phipps. Now, if you don't know who John Mackey is, he is the creator of Whole Foods. And it's a huge grocery store. They sell healthy foods, whole foods, and they have revolutionized the industry these last few decades. Now, I will get right into this material. This is the book right here, Conscious Leadership. And the reason why is because I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 things that I've learned from this book. Now, this is a very big book, a very thick book. Not that thick, but it's pretty thick. A lot to consume, but it is a good read. If you are a conscious leader, if you want to revolutionize and innovate how you lead your team, how you support your team, then this book is for you. Now, let's start in number 5. We have a lot to get through, and I don't want to waste any time. Number 5, continuously learn and grow. As a conscious leader, you must continuously learn and grow. In our everyday life, yes, we're learning, we're doing studies, perhaps we're taking courses, or we're reading books, but in this particular book, the Conscious Leadership book, on page 207, they share with you learning is the acquisition of new information. And the reason why they're talking about this is because you cannot just look at learning as to get better at something. You need to be innovative. And as you're learning, you have to get into territories, new terrain of learning that might be uncomfortable for you. So your expertise may not be in finance, but this is a great opportunity for you to understand finance, especially as a leader. Perhaps it's sales, perhaps it's marketing, whatever it is. You need to be able to learn and grow continuously, because as you grow, as you scale, and as the industry is growing, now you can be at the forefront of that. The reason why, and they explain a bit more on page 207, it helps leaders and it helps you as a conscious leader to remain at the forefront of your industry. You want to stay on the forefront of your industry, you have to keep learning and growing. You have to do it. There's no if, ands, or but. If you look at Elon Musk, he is always innovating. He is always learning and growing. Regardless of what your opinion of him is, you see that he's always charting in new terrain. He may not be the best at every single thing, but he has a good understanding of it, and he's always testing out new fields. Why? And then we see that this is how he is at the forefront of it. Now on page 207, it continues on saying, conscious leaders are vicarious learners, reading and studying wildly in fields seemingly unrelated to their own. So as I mentioned, it's if you're not in marketing, perhaps you are a coach, perhaps you're in you sell a product, maybe you write books, but you're not in marketing per se. You want to be in that industry. What is the marketing industry doing? What is the sales industry doing? What training do I need? Maybe you don't have to, maybe you don't start off with having a coach in that particular area, but you start off reading books, you're reading material, not just to say you know something, but so that you can learn something, so that your department, your sales department, your marketing department, whichever department in your business needs that support, you're able to properly and consciously lead them so they are continuously elevating and getting to that next level. Number 4, evolve the team. Evolve your team. On page 155, it says here, as leaders, we are only as good as their team. In the military, they always used to say, now I don't know if they say this anymore, but in the military, they say, you're only as strong as your weakest link. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And so on page 155 in this particular book, it's saying, as a leader, you're only as good as your team. How strong is your team? Are they continuously learning? Are they at the top of their game? And even if they're not at the top of their game, perhaps they're new in industry, but they're still good at what they do, you want to make sure that they're not staying at good. They're moving into the great. They're moving into the exceptional. And if they're already in the exceptional, how do they stay at the top of their game, in the top of their industry, so they can always be exceptional? It continues on talking about conscious leaders focus on the health of the team as it's an ever-evolving puzzle and process. So number 4, evolving your team. You have to understand as a conscious leader, what is the health of your team? We talk a lot about self-care for ourselves. What is the self-care that your team is experiencing? We speak a lot about making sure we're getting the checkups, that we're eating the good food, that we're drinking pure water, good water. All of these things are exceptional, they're great, they're wonderful, but in order for your business to succeed, in order for your business to thrive, the health of the team needs to be strong. If the body is sick, then of course you're not going to get the results that you want. And the body I'm speaking about is your team. So make sure that your team is strong. They are getting the right nutrients. The right nutrients means they're getting fed the right work, so that they are not only healthily challenged, but they are keeping up in industry, that they are happy, that they are excited about being there. They're excited about the work that they are doing. You can find that on page 150. It goes in a lot of details on this. They also speak on good hiring. When you are hiring someone, now a lot of people don't necessarily talk about hiring. You're talking a lot about business in itself. They speak a lot about how to make the sale. But your team, the hiring process, do you promote internally or are you always seeking external? Now, there's no right and wrong answer here. It is what works for you and what works with your business. Now, if you are hiring more so like newer people to come into business, and or if it's contractors, you still have to look at the health of the team. Can they do the job? Are they aligned with you? Are they happy? These things are important. Very, very important. So you have to look at the people they are hiring. On page 162 and 163, it goes even deeper into what to look for when you are hiring. So the person that you are interviewing, you're looking at their emotional intelligence. The second thing you're going to look at is their character. Now, how do you figure out their character? That comes from their references. Who are the people that are referring them? Who can speak and attest to their character. And when you know their character, now you can say, does this align with the business? Similar with emotional intelligence. You will see in interviews, both past and present, and I'm pretty confident in the future, they ask questions. How do you solve this problem? What is the process or the steps you will take when we encounter a challenge? Right? They want to know so they can gauge and identify your emotional intelligence. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it than that, but that is the beginning process. And the final thing that you want to look at is the culture. You want to look at the culture. How are they in the company culture as a whole, will they fit in? Do they align in that department, in the business? Because remember, we spoke a bit earlier for number 4 with evolving the team. You're only as strong as your team. You're only as strong as your team. So the person or the company or whoever it is that you are hiring, they need to have these 3 basic things: the emotional intelligence, the character, and how do they fit into company culture. Very, very important. Now it goes into depth, as I said, on page 162 and 163. It continues on, how do you develop a conscious culture? I'm taking time here on this because I just don't want to tell you about getting the book or this is what it says and then going. I want to go in depth because not many materials or coaches will share these things with you. Not all of them will go in depth and detail. So in this particular book, Elevating Humanity Through Conscious Leadership, when you look at number 4 for evolving your team, this is my number 4 takeaway from this. On page 165 to page 173, it gives me 8 points. Number 8, build community. This is how you're going to develop a conscious culture. You need to build community. You need to manage underperformers. You need mentorship. You need to invest in a coaching culture. Are the executives coaching the frontline leaders? You need to provide clear goals and reviews for each individual. Leaders must know themselves. Shakespeare says, "To thy own self be true." You, leader, you need to know yourself. The people who are in charge of specific departments need to know themselves. Number 2, you need to practice what you preach. Part of the character. And the number 1 thing is happiness is a core value. Happiness is a core value. And those are the 8 tips or 8 takeaways when you are developing a conscious culture for my number 4 point, which is when you're evolving your team. That can be found on page 165 to page 173. Now, number 3, innovate and create. So how does a leader, how does a company actually produce or promote individual creativity? Think about that for a moment. How do they do that? There are 4 points. Number 4, embrace the edges. You need to push the boundaries. So in your team, in your company, we all have a set of boundaries. How far are we going to push? Well, once people understand and they're comfortable with their work, with the environment, this is where you are healthily challenging them to push the boundaries. Number 3, start a conspiracy. No one likes conspiracy theory, but in this case, they mean it in a healthy way. So in a conspiracy, create that sense that all team members are in on a secret. Now, this is an opportunity that the rest of the world either doesn't yet appreciate and or doesn't yet see. This comes back to building up their faith. So starting a conspiracy is where people are so revved up, so excited to show up to work and are just so aligned with your mission, your vision, your values, that they recognize, people just don't know yet, but I'm going to give my all. They just know that this secret, my business, is just this business that I'm in. I'm supporting my leader. Wow. Everyone else is going to know, so I'm going to give 100%. So that's like creating this conspiracy theory. Number 2, encourage healthy competition. You want to cultivate the healthy competition. Now, that doesn't mean that you're looking at other competitors and you're downgrading your team or the people. Healthy competition just is saying, okay, this is what our competitors are doing. Where can we improve? If they're getting success in one particular area, well, where can we improve? How can we become more innovative? Right? Where are the holes that we need to fill that's in our bucket in one particular ecosystem in our industry? And the number one tip for innovation and creation is creating the right incentives. Every single person has different incentives that works for them. Now, as a company culture, when you're looking at it as a whole, you're looking at the benefit of the team. So it's a win-win, not only for you, but also for your team members. So what is it that people actually want? What is it that they want? So when they're showing up to work, it's like they're getting this little reward. It's not every day you're handing out gift cards or money. You're not doing that. But, it could be something as simple as maybe, hey, there's an opportunity to go take their kids to the amusement park, for example. And so you connect with a particular group that gives discounted rates. That can be an incentive, right? You want to support family. You want to support their life because in the team they have that family, right? The culture is about family. Number 2, long-term goals and vision. This is the number 2 tip that I have found, long-term goals and vision. You want to await the long-term for your outlook. What is your outlook? Now, page 130 talks in depth about this, but when you practice long-term thinking, then it becomes easier for you to not get caught up in short and or temporary goals. You're always looking ahead. The team knows where they are going. They know what goals they have to achieve along the way in the long term. And so when something becomes stagnant or maybe a situation arises, they are not consumed with the temporary, but they can keep their eye on the prize and this is where I'm going. I had a little hiccup here, but I'm going to keep moving forward. And so this one on page 134, the authors go in depth where they talk about post-mortem, right? Post-mortem in a business outlook. And they're suggesting, and I actually agree with this because this is something that I also look at myself. When you are a conscious leader, you need to look at the pre-mortem. Now, post-mortem means like after something happens, you do your after action reports. You look at what worked, what didn't work, what you can improve for the next time. But as a conscious leader, if you are elevating your leadership, your team, you have to look at the pre-mortem. You have to look at before I even start taking actions towards this goal, what are the pre-steps? What is the strategy that we're going to implement? Now that takes time. It takes research. It takes your team to be able to develop an effective strategy so that once that strategy starts being implemented and action is being taken, you can see each step along the way. Hey, there's a challenge that comes up. We're not thinking short term. We're going to continue to think long term because you have addressed potential challenges, potential circumstance that may hinder your plan. So this is why, as a conscious leader, you must look at the pre-mortem. You need to look at the steps, the outline. What can come out of this? What can arise out of this? This is looking at the brainstorming piece. You're looking at any challenges that may arise. How can we potentially divert from here if we encountered it? What are the steps that we can take so that it becomes easier for your team to move on. And as the leader and the people who are leading certain areas in your business, they need to have the confidence and the plan to be able to execute in the appointed time. So now when you're actually doing the postmortem, the after action report, after you've accomplished the goal, you can see, oh, it took us X amount of time to recover. This is the stats that actually shows that we've improved in a particular area, and or grown, recovered faster, all of those things. Now it ends here. I'm going to end here where the authors share on page 134. They says, with pre-mortem, this helps you, the leader, strategically approach the long-term future by bringing clarity to what really matters. It brings clarity to what really matters, which is your long-term goals, those long-term thinking. And number one, leading with love. Now, so many people talk about this, right? They talk about leading with love. They talk about servant leadership. In my opinion, this particular book, Elevating Humanity Through Conscious Leadership, goes into depth about leading with love. Because in the corporate world, it's mostly in the closet. People aren't necessarily talking about this. And if they are trying to implement it, it's more small businesses and or mid-sized businesses, and they don't necessarily have the formula down pat to implement it in their business strategically. So leading with love. And so on page 31, it says, if you decide to bring love out of the corporate closet, you must seek new mental models and metaphors that are truer to the essence of what your business is. This means you have to take time to understand your mission, your vision, your values. When we are writing our proposals, right, for our business, they always ask me what's your mission, vision, values, all of these things, the ethics. All of those things tie into how you're leading with love. And so this means that you have to acquire a new mental state. A new mental state, a new mental model. Now, when I say new mental model, you don't have to invent anything. Most things in terms of innovation has already been invented. Now all you're doing is taking something that's old, that has worked, and you are innovating it so it can work for you. It can work for your team. On page 33, it talks about you need to practice or implement servant leadership. Servant leadership is leading, it's love in action. It's leading with love in action. So are you a servant leader? If not, you got to ask yourself why. Are you practicing servant leadership, especially if you want to become a conscious leader? So this particular book, Elevating Humanity Through Conscious Leadership, on page 38, it continues on. It says, love is a master virtue with many related virtues, when combined, represent a complete meaning of the term. We hear a lot of people talking about servant leadership. Sometimes they touch on love, but they don't get in depth. They're not giving you the food that you need to understand what it means to be a servant leader and to lead as a servant leader. And so when you understand the virtue of love, then you will understand you must understand and practice its manifestation. To understand love and how to lead with love, you must understand and practice its manifestation as a servant leader. Now, it gives you 6 points, 6 areas. And this includes generosity, appreciation, gratitude, care, compassion, and forgiveness. So the master virtue, love, when combined, represent a complete meaning of the term as a servant leader. And these are the 6 areas that you need to cultivate, you need to understand, you need to practice so that you can bring it into manifestation into your leadership, which is generosity, gratitude, appreciation, care, compassion, and forgiveness. I want to thank you for your time today. Let me know in the comments if you have learned and take away something that is going to elevate not only you, not only your business or community, but humanity as a whole. Humanity as a whole, so that people are leading with love. They're leading with love. They can lead effectively. They can create a culture and a space that is holistic, and people are happy. When people are happy, they can produce. They will give you more. Zig Ziglar is famous for saying this line. You give people more, right? You give people more. You do more for them. Give people what they want, more of what they want, and you will get more of what you want. Give people more of what they want, and you will get what you want. That's part of servant leadership. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. I look forward to unpacking our next book together on Boss Chronicles. Have an exceptional week ahead. Bye.